So one of the most uncommon maintenance mod that's actually done to these cars is actually the Vanos solenoids, and the reason being is that it's really expensive to replace. It's one of the most important things to ensure a proper maintenance of the car, especially with the Vanos solenoids being so expensive and the Vanos being expensive itself. These are things that you regularly want to do. So on this particular car, we're going to be replacing the Vanos solenoids, which is these bad boys here. And we're going to be putting some new ones in on the inside. So let's take out the solenoids. That's the intake. Oh, sorry, that's the exhaust. This is the intake here. You get there. There should be an O-ring here, O-ring on that side, and an O-ring on this side here. New solenoids should come with new O-rings as well as the seating plastic. Yep, there we go. So we can compare a new one to a used one. And you can see the goldish coloration on the outside of this one here. This is, I'm sure it's just oil residue or something that tarnished it over time. So with this in place, what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of red rubber grease and just put it along the O-ring here. And that's just to make its journey into the head a lot easier, seamless, so you don't sit there and struggle with it. So we'll start off with the exhaust Vanos first. And then we'll do the intake Vanos next. Intake Vanos done. And seat that properly on the inside. I'll get to as to why the timing guide, the timing tool is out on this particular car. But for now, just gotta pop these bad boys in. There we go. There we go. Set this aside. Set this aside as well. So with that out of the way, we can now get to putting the bolts on the inside back into the car. Remember, first hand tighten it in so that you don't cross thread it on the inside. Line it up. I think the torque spec on this thing is extremely low. It's like, I think 10 Newton meters or something for these bolts. So not that serious. I think a person's hand can do about 10 Newton meters by itself. Now, the reason why I have the timing tool on the car is because as part of the maintenance, I like to replace the sending unit or the sensor. So at the bottom here, there's sensors at the bottom, and we're going to replace the plate on the Vanos unit itself. It's never been replaced, so this is just common maintenance that we're going to be undertaking here. So I've already set the timing, I've already unloosened the bolt. So all I'm going to do is take out the front plate. Now with the plate out of the way, I've already untightened these are one-time use only bolts, so you can only use them once, and I'll show you why. There we go. So these are your impulse sending units. So this is actually used to align it, and as this thing spins around with the Vanos, the sensor picks up on this impulse sending to determine exactly where and what position the timing is at currently. So this is critical. Sometimes what happens is these things bend and you get stupid Vanos codes coming along. So let's replace that. These are our new Vanos plates. There's the part number if anybody needs it. And insert the new plates. And while you are here, you can actually feel the chain, the tension on the chain, if that's still good. Inspect your timing guides as well to make sure they're all still good. There's a lot of things you can do once the valve cover is off. These are wrapped quite good. Now, because I know kind of where this plate needs to be, or rather how these dots need to align, I'm trying to get it in as close as possible to that, so I don't need to really wiggle it in. So once that's in, and that there we'll put the plate back onto the car. New bolts. If anybody needs a part number, there's a part number of it there. So what I would do is, the plates are already inserted. It's kind of in the position where it needs to be, like this here. I'm just going to hand tighten it for now. I'm not going to tighten it completely down. The reason being is that we still need to put this plate back in on the inside. So I'll do the same on this side here. And then reinsert the plate over. I'll just take my 16. So you just want it as tight so that you can still move this particular sender plate. So now you can see why the timing tool was put on, is so that the cams doesn't move and we don't lose the timing on the car itself when doing this particular exercise. Vanos maintenance is very important. I mean, these plates are very cheap. In comparison, the solenoids are much cheaper to replace than to replace the actual Vanos unit itself. I had a look at the cam ledges before this year. They still look okay. So on your timing tool, I forgot to show you, you have these dowels that stick out here. So these dowels actually fit on the inside of that circular part, which aligns the timing. Make sure everything is in place. This can be a bit tricky. Okay, Vanos unit is in place. Now I can tighten these bad boys down. Let's use a small extension on a 16mm socket. I'm using a 1/2 inch here. Your first torque is actually 20 Newton meters. So that's 20. That's already 20. Okay, so the next thing you have to do is you would need to do an angle of rotation of 180 degrees on that bolt. So that's how come those bolts are only one-time use bolts, is because why? These bolts itself will actually stretch. So when you do the first 20 Newton meters, that's just to lock it into place. The next 180 degrees actually stretches the bolt. So we should have done this as an exercise. Measure this bolt as to a new bolt, and you would have seen it would have been slightly shorter than the old bolt. The old bolt would have stretched. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do an angle of rotation of 180 degrees. An angle of rotation on the BMWs is actually difficult with the amount of aluminium, because you have to find somewhere for your torque rotation tool to stick onto. So let's first set it. Okay. So what I would do actually is try and get it from here. It gives me a lot more leverage, and then reset this dial here, and I'll use that as okay. So 180. So I think we're gonna do 2 rounds of 90. I think that would be the easiest. Okay, game offsetting. Okay. So So will we be able to get to 90? No, we're not going to be able to. So I think we're going to have to take it a lot more. So before you do anything, make sure you have enough room. So 90 is there. That's where the needle must stop. So that's the first one at 90. Hopefully we got enough space here as well, but difficult to see. Okay. That's first 90, then we'll do another 90 here, just to make sure we get it in place properly. Here goes. Second 90 will be a little bit more difficult. That's the second 90. A bit more leverage here. Set this down. So that's the second 90, so that's 180 newtons. No, I don't know how much that have to be. 180 degrees, I mean. So it takes a bit of effort, but well worth it in the long run. So rather put in the effort now before you actually do something catastrophically wrong. So while the injectors were out, I just wrote down the injector numbers here over here so that I can double check what the injector coding looks like. Anything's out of place, I can change it up. Use some carb cleaner. Clean the mating surface between your valve cover gasket so that it's a clean surface for it. Once that is clean, you can put your valve cover back on. Just remove anything that might come in the way. Just set it aside. Everything is aside. And that's it there as well. Just give it a good clean. Just like that. So when I mean a good clean, let me show you what I'm talking about. So that's exactly how you want the surface to be. You want the surface to be clean so that both areas have no grease for it to prevent it from making a good seal. Also, you can have a look when you do take your valve cover off. You can have a look at these ports here. These are your PCV ports. Make sure they're not blocked and things like that there. So I've already done all of that. And then just move everything out of the way. There we go, valve cover back on. So now I'll put all the auxiliary items back on. I'll clean up the valve cover, I'll clean up all of them on the back. We have something to eat now, and once we're done with this here, button it down, we'll do the Vanos filters.